Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea on the night, the evening, the pageantry of the State of the Union. We're going to get to Professor Schiller, Wendy Schiller of Brown University, down the line. This is where we give you two thoughts from our show. Today's show was wildly eclectic. We talked about ESG and the new ESG, the challenges there to say the least. We had a wonderful discussion on leverage. How much leverage do you have into NVIDIA, over $900 a share? And again, this is to give you a vignette here into how we act. I have no control purposely over the guests we get. I will say to people, this guest really didn't fit or that one didn't fit. But basically, Bob Bragg and our team put the entire show together without talking to me. And what that usually means is I get really wonderful surprises. I got a wonderful surprise at 8:55 this morning where in 5 minutes we had Christopher Whalen come on. He has the definitive one volume on American financial history, Inflated. He announced on the show he's in rewrite on it, a substantial rewrite, but he's wonderful on analysis of the banking system. We talked about SVB in the spring, I guess a year ago. Now we have NYCB in New York, really troubled. The former Treasury Secretary coming in yesterday with $1 billion. Whalen and I agree. That seems like an awful small amount of money. But what we really did with Chris Whalen is we talked about, okay, we're here. Where are we going within the banking system?
So I think you're dead on. There were a lot of models that grew over the last 10 years, really since 2008. That don't work now. And particularly the change in the valuation of urban commercial and urban multifamily real estate is episodic. I rated many of the banks in New York, Tom, when I was at Kroll. These portfolios hadn't seen any appreciable credit loss in 75, 100 years. And they were always fully let. These buildings today we're talking about are fully let. They cash flow, but you can't sell them. The value's been cut in half.
There's a window into where we are with NYCB, and what we're talking about there is the marketing concepts, where SVB was going after for reduced fees, people with a lot of money to sit there where they could make money on the lead brick of money in their portfolio, and NYCB had to do with the vicissitudes of the New York City rental market and all that. And where we go from here, it was really interesting. Chris says there's some real vulnerabilities out there. He seems to be dead on that. We'll have to follow this very closely into next year. And, of course, we'll do this with bank earnings coming out. I actually looked, and already it's not upon us, but out 1 month, J.P. Morgan on April 12th. We're out on Apple CarPlay. We're on YouTube Live. A lot of confusion there. It's real simple. Go to YouTube, and this is live, 7 to 10 Wall Street time. You type in Bloomberg Podcasts, and you go there, and it says surveillance, this, that, and you can get a wonderful live feed of Paul Sweeney, as handsome as he is. It is single best idea. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's an experiment. It's a work in progress, to say the least. We were listening to Chris Whalen talk about banking systems, the troubles that are out there, specifically for NYCB and the rescue. I guess I'll call it a rescue in the last 24 hours. The rescue tonight is for President Biden. He has to come out with all the politics of his party and of this nation and do the pageantry that from our childhood we all adore. A little bit of history here. George Washington had an annual address in 1790, and then on you go with all different permutations of a state of the Union. It became somewhat codified with FDR and radio. Harry Truman, I believe, was the first televised State of the Union. That was before my time, you wise guys out there. And then on we go to the pageantry, and then the amazing television football that we have now. Of course, we'll have complete coverage with Joe Matthew and Kaylee Lyons, with people, not the usual back and forth politics, but people with some real depth about the pending Biden-Trump battle. We went for depth, and we do that at Brown University with Wendy Schiller. Her textbook is Definitive in America, as an introduction to high-level civics, and she was fired up today. Wendy Schiller here on a fractious Democratic Party.
I think the Biden administration made a pretty significant flaw in their selling of their legislative program, the Inflation Reduction Act, infrastructure. They didn't really tie what they were doing to how it's going to improve people's lives. And this is what Democrats do. They go big, they're successful, they get a lot of big things passed, and then they completely fail to sell them properly. The Republicans cut taxes, raise deficits, and they're the magic party on the economy. This has been true for 40 years. I mean, I don't know if there's a magic answer to this, but I think right now telling people the economy is better than they think it is not going to work. Showing people how the government has helped them in the face of a bad economy a couple of years ago may work.
Wendy Schiller, consultant to the Democratic Party, she said in the early 1980s, and they said, okay, that's enough of that. But her enthusiasm is really infectious. It's just, whatever your political persuasion, every time she is with us, the professor from Brown University makes us smarter about the political process. The goal of Single Best Idea is not to make you smarter. I'm not going to do that for you. The goal is to take the treasured conversations we have on economics, finance, investment, on international relations, and give you 2 little vignettes into what we've done today on Apple CarPlay and YouTube Live on Bloomberg Surveillance.